Scott Gentile from A2A Simulations.
I'm Lewis Bloomfield from A2A Simulations.
What got you guys started at A2A?
Well, we started a little over 10 years ago. Lewis came on board 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Along those lines, yeah.
And I get, 12, 15, 20 years ago, we were just simmers like everybody else, avid flight simmers, unsatisfied flight simmers for a long time. So we finally, that frustration led to us making our own work. So that's really what started. It really was started from just being not happy with what's out there.
What did you do before A2A?
I was a sound engineer for 10 years, 20, 30 years old, and a software networking engineer. I used to build Microsoft networks for about 3-4 years, and then actually it's longer than that, about 5 years.
Yeah, for me it was computers still. I was an IT technician, dealing with everything from Photoshop problems to your basic turn it off and on again.
Where do you see the flight sim industry 10 years from now?
Wow. It's a loaded question. I mean, at the minute we're at such a transition period. The same flight simulations you can purchase from us are exactly what's currently being put into the big boy simulations, all the FAA approved ones and whatnot. Then you got all the hardware technologies coming out. The Oculus Rift seems to actually be bringing the VR aspect that's been promised now for probably since I've been alive.
Yeah.
I know that you were at E3 10 years ago, was it?
Yeah, probably about 9-10 years ago we thought it was coming then.
Yeah, before it was coming then. Wow, I don't, in 10 years' time.
Well, we know where it's going. We don't exactly want to tell you exactly where we're going with it because we are the tip of the spear here. Nobody does what we do. We basically, there's no books that we read. Everything we do, we map out. We have to, we're writing it as we do it. And that's why every project's an adventure. We basically see what we push it. But yeah, I would imagine in 10 years, we'll feel much the same way we are now. Feeling happy with where we are, but we'll be like, boy, we really want to be here. And as long as you have your goal out of your reach, keep working your tail off. It's still there. It's still valid.
Where do you see A2A as a company in 10 years? Any new technologies that you want to try to work with?
Again, where do we see us in 10 years? Well, we will be in a similar place to where we are now. We have a very clear vision of where we are going. We just don't want to share those internal ideas. So that's just a tough question to answer.
We've got a good development plan with lots of ideas that's never been done before. We know we can do them, and 10 years from now we hope to plan to still be on the cutting edge of flight simulation.
Anything you have in the pipeline right now?
We do. Our next aircraft is a general aviation airplane, but we do have a lot of warbirds. We love the warbirds. I mean, this morning we were woken up by T-28s taking off. It's our passion. But I should say everything's our passion. We're crazy about the last two airplanes we made, the Cessna 172 and the Electric Cherokee 165. GA is next. We would like to do at some point a T33 jet. We're not sure if and when that's going to come, but we are making one. We are planning to flight test one in the next, say, 4 to 6 weeks. So So we're investing in one, which usually ends up in a product. Sometimes that product doesn't happen because you get pulled into another direction. The advantage of keeping your options open is you have to be mobile. We're a pretty flexible mobile company. We can turn on a dime if we have to, and that's saved us many times. But we really want to make a T33 at some point. Because I know there's some people out there talking about warbirds. We've been doing a lot of general aviation, and they sometimes think we forgot the warbirds, and that's absolutely not the case. We're focused on this new assembly line. It's a general aviation assembly line. A general aviation aircraft has different needs to a 1,000, 1,500 horsepower warbird. So we now have those two assembly lines. We're going to push one more out of the general aviation assembly line, and then we hope to pump one out of the warbird assembly line.
Yeah, I mean, the GA market has opened up quite a lot to us as a company, hasn't it? I mean, with a Redbeard, bits and bobs, and TRC simulators as well in Europe. So the ability to get our stuff to a wider actual flight training audience that's in simulators that's certified. So we're probably going to continue to do that. But as Scott says, we've not forgotten about the warbird guys. That is our original passion. It's where we got started. I mean, I've said to a few people here onto the booth, I mean, I grew up, I'd finished school, go to my grandma's house just outside school, and I'd watch Memphis Pell on repeat over and over. And that was when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. So in the background for me and for a few other members of the team, the warbirds will continue to come.
They're airplanes. A P-51 and P-40 Spitfires, they're just airplanes. They're just bigger, more powerful airplanes. So we fly a Piper Comanche. It's a smaller airplane, and then we have the Cub. They're very small, but they're all just airplanes. So yeah, we love aircraft of all kinds.
Now, going back to the GA that you said, you're going to get this question asked a lot on your forums. When's the release date?
We really don't know the release date ourselves until the product is hit our beta team for approximately 1 week. After a week, we kind of say, okay, we're looking at, once it hits it for a week, it can be anywhere from 2 to as long as 4 months from that. The Cessna was a long beta because it was the first of the assembly line.
Yeah. We can't say a definitive date, but we are hoping before the end of the year for another A2A release. That's an AccuSim release. Prior to that, though, we should have 1, maybe 2 more aircraft factory releases as well from the aircraft factory team. That's worth keeping in mind too. One of them is currently in beta testing. Nearly finished.
It is finished.
Pretty much finished
just before we came out to Oshkosh.
Yeah.
So we decided to wait until we get that released.
Any particular aircraft that you wish you could do but can't due to not enough examples?
You might want to pan and see the captain, Jake, over there. He gave me a smile. What were you thinking?
Well, I just have a whole list in my head of aircraft that we didn't do that we were planning to.
Oh, okay. Be very careful there what you say to Jake. So the question was aircraft we wish we could do?
But can't.
But can't.
Due to not enough available.
No, we could do any aircraft we wanted to. We could do the space shuttle if we wanted to. It's just a matter of going out there and doing it. We wish we could do a lot of aircraft. Because we do this because we want to fly the planes and flight simulators. Some people think, oh, you already have an airplane, you're already flying, why do you want to fly it? It has absolutely no bearing on the desire of flying flight simulators. Yeah, we make these planes because this is something we really want to do. I mean, it was a year and a half ago. I could not wait to have a Piper Cherokee and a Cessna 172 on the market, because that's when the conversations really begin about flight characteristics. Those are two aircraft that have almost identical specifications, similar cruise speed. The Piper's a few knots faster, essentially similar on paper, but very different in the way that they fly. High wing and low wing and everything that goes with that. And a lot of people, even here, really couldn't tell you, well, how does a Cessna fly different from a Cessna high wing fly different from a Piper low wing? Well, we know they fly very different because we've flown flight testing them with accuracy. And to us, it's all about education and learning. You're learning about something new and just constantly growing. And as we're growing and as we learn, because you never stop learning, you never know everything. We're learning things every day. We get excited about something like, for example, I'm looking at a P40 on the screen. I learned a lot about hydraulics with the P40 because it has a very primitive manual hydraulic system. You press a button, you run the hydraulics, you're just vectoring hydraulic fluid into your gear or into your flaps, and you're just pushing things with hydraulic fluid. You can't fake that. We had to have it real, the way it comes up. And that took a long time to code, but I learned a lot about hydraulics doing that. So now when I walk by like a Navion, which is all hydraulics, I look at that plane and I think, wow, I'm thinking differently because of programming it. And then I want to take what we learned and give it to our customers. So we're constantly in that phase of new adventure, let's do this, give it to a customer. T33, I know very little right now. I know basically what a T33 is. I can look in the cockpit and see what it is. I've never flown in a T33 before, so we got to now learn.
Yeah, we get as many manuals as possible. It's surprising how many manuals you can get hold of, isn't it? Yeah. And by the end of it, especially these guys, the development team are just experts. The Bendix King stack in the Cherokee and the Cessna, I mean, you use the real manual to work that thing. Our coder, Michael, he's just a Bendix King expert now because he programmed it direct out of the manual.
And he's the expert because he coded it. And as our Rob says, to make an airplane, just the model, just starting with the physical, visual model, you have to be an expert in it. He's always said that. And like I mentioned, this T33. I haven't flown the T33. But by the time that T33 comes out, I'll be an authority in how that T33 flies, is because we have to make it fly exactly like a T33. And it will not fly like a T33 unless we make every little aspect of it fly. Every little nuance, every little detail, far beyond what the pilot really needs to know. So we end up knowing things that even pilots of these T33s can't answer. They go, well, you know, I'm not really quite sure. Next time I go up, I'll give you a call and I'll let you know. But what we do is we've developed a new flight test program. And very fortunately, starting with a 172, I did about 20 test flights in the 172 over an 8-month period, all having high-def cameras on the rudder pedals and the throttle, zoomed into some gauges because you want to see every nuance. We have all those test flights. It took 20 for me to figure out everything that we need for an accuracy plane. The next plane was the Piper Cherokee. I think I did about 7. I hoped it was going to be 1 or 2. There wasn't. After the second one, there was something else. There was something else. Now we have this 90-minute flight test program that I believe we can capture, or I know we can capture, 95% of what we need to accuracy. So now when we fly the T33, everything I learned on those 27 test flights is smushed into a 90-minute flight. And I'm going to give the pilot, which will be Vlado Leonard of the T33, a specific. I'll be in the back rattling off, back seat rattling off what we need to do next. And Flatter will be doing all these maneuvers, and I'm sure it'll give me some stiff time so I can feel how the plane flies. But essentially, we'll come out of that thing with a blueprint like nobody has. Nobody does this, and I know it because, like I said, 27 test flights now over a year and a half. So it's this lifetime work here. We're thinking of it not as just today or this week or this month. This is our life. Like, this is what we're doing. So it's very exciting. And that progress is what gets me excited. And efficiency. We don't want to be sitting here pumping out.
It's the because of them 20 odd hours for the C-172, Scott became a bit of an expert at the pre-flight. The amount of times he had to pre-flight that aircraft. So we've got it, it's all good and well, we've got it in the simulation. I think that simulation can be out for another 10 years.
10 years.
Users still won't have pre-flighted that as much as Scott did during them tests.
Yeah, you say 10 years?
Hundreds of times you pre-flighted that aircraft.
I wouldn't be surprised if our Cessna, as it is still not out there 10 years and still the cutting edge. I don't see if there's little changes that we find that need to get done along the way, we can make those changes.
Them out and upgrade.
With FSX technology, with Lockheed Martin having taken commercial end, it's infiltrated the military training. That's Lockheed Martin's bread and butter. The military is making a huge investment. They're not going to need to change anything. They're going to want that to be set, and they're going to want their investment to go. And now we have flight schools in Redbird. They're all invested. They don't want to change platforms. So, yeah, 10 years, it's not crazy to think in 10 years, this technology will still be going. And we have the flexibility because we are not confined or limited. We're not confined to any platform. That includes FSX. We choose FSX because it's the best platform out there. Has been. We're outside FSX. We connect to FSX. So our world is in here. We're free to build it out here, however we want, and that just plugs into FSX. Get it? So, yeah, 10 years.
Any particular piece of hardware that you wish would come out for FSX that currently isn't out or in development to the best of your knowledge?
For me, not at the minute. No, as I said earlier, you've got the Oculus Rift and not just the Oculus Rift, because obviously that's just one.
That's probably the big one.
The whole VR segment in general, Sony are bringing out one and other manufacturers. So I think the entire industry as a whole soon is going to be somewhat turned upside down as this technology really starts to hit the market. So for me, it's more just a waiting game than wishing anything new would come along. It's just a waiting game now of potentially less than a year for the Oculus Rift to really hit the commercial market, and
we have
see how things go from there.
We have CH Products that has been a fantastic company making hardware for many years. The products are outstanding. And we have SciTech that's actively putting out new products, and they're right next to us. And so they're very responsive. All of our SciTech stuff here. To give them a little plug, this is the TPM throttle prop mixture. I love this unit. And then they have this trim wheel right here. This is something, it's a lot of people just wouldn't think to go out and buy, and I wouldn't. They let us use it for the show. They sent it to us about a month before the show. And I love it. Very high quality. I'm assuming it's going to last. I can't say because I haven't had it that long, but it's a good unit.
Do you have any updates on the F-104 and F-4 projects?
Well, we started by doing the Phantom. We wanted to do the Phantom. We made the Phantom. It's pretty much done in 3D. The Phantom is a very complicated aircraft. Before they started modularizing aircraft. So the mechanic says it's a lot of spaghetti in a Phantom, whereas an F-15 you're popping out boxes. I'm not an F-15 mechanic, so I might be out of my. But their understanding is it's very complex systems. And when we started getting into the systems, sort of red flags started popping up. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, this kind of stuff can be very dangerous.
We didn't want an aircraft factory release. We didn't want a release, just sort of a default realism release. It had to be AccuSim. There's a certain expectation there with AccuSim.
Yes.
So it was a case of we hadn't got the technology that far yet. It was a bit much of a jump from where we were to this super complex jet.
And then the 104 came around because it was a single engine. It was a similar same engine as the Phantom. And we made a couple visits to the starfighters down in Florida. And we also grabbed a lot of cockpit footage. And we started to model it. We got pretty far. Our F-104 is amazing. Just as it is amazing. It's fun to fly. But we started reading more into getting deeper into the engine. And I realized the engine is a little more advanced than we hoped. It has some RPM limiters on it, stuff like that. I'm like, I don't really want to start with that. I want to start with something raw and simple. Yeah. And then the other aspect of the 104, I started reading up on turbines. I start with those Pratt & Whitney manuals, which are a great starting point. I realized the turbine manual was twice as thick as the combustion reciprocating manual. And I'm thinking this doesn't make sense because a turbine is a simpler device. Why is it twice as much? And then I realized a good chunk of that had to do with supersonic flight. That's an entirely big section. And yeah, we can do it, but it's like, wait a minute, that's a large piece. Do we want to bite this off just yet? And so we had to take one more notch back and go to the T33, which I love that plane. I think it's one of the most beautiful planes when it has those tip tanks. It's just gorgeous. And we have access. We have full access to the F-104s, but it's a lot cheaper to fly a T33 than an F-104. So when they fly the F-104s, we're not going down there and handing them cash to fly a 104. They're flying it, and we're saying, hey, while you're in the air, can you give us an aileron roll at 500 indicated? No, we're getting bits and pieces from them. It's a little harder to get the full scope. The T33, on the other hand, we take that 90-minute flight test I told you about, and we get that with the T33. We're going to get a boatload of information that is going to apply to the 104 that we're not going to have to do in the 104. All types of characteristics of the jet engine and how that engine reacts to the air, how the air comes in, at what temp, and how different temperatures respond to each other, startup, shutdown, everything. A lot to learn again. I want to master the T33 first, going steps. So we do apologize getting people's hopes up that we were going to be putting out a 104 or Phantom earlier than we thought. We want it as bad as everybody else, but we're not magicians. We got to lay the bricks solidly. We can't just jump ahead, because that's the way you get into trouble.
Yeah, as Scott said, the development of our products is dynamic. We have multiple projects on the go at once. And as Scott said, we turn on a dime, we can turn that around and make one from, might be near release, to suddenly go to the back of the queue, should it need to. So it's a very fluid
things
process.
Change quickly. Opportunities change very quickly. We got some pretty famous people who come by our booth and ask us these questions. Can you do my airplane? No, we can do any airplane if you want, but we're doing these. Guys can knock you off balance, and frankly, we're not going to turn our heads away from a great opportunity. So we want to be, that's why you say release dates. 1 week into beta, we're 99.9% sure we're putting that land out. Something pretty dramatic would have to happen. I can't even imagine. And so we don't want to repeat the getting people excited about products. Oops, it's going to be another year or two. We really hate that, and that's our fault. We own that.
Yeah.
Are there any particular aircraft that you absolutely refuse to do, or is it just you don't have?
There's nothing, aircraft or anything we refuse to do.
That's pretty simple on that, isn't it?
As a final question, what is your personal favorite aircraft?
Oh, that's a tough one. You may as well start there.
Avro Lancaster. By a margin. The Avro Lancaster, yeah. You know it's the 190.
No, well, not anymore, I don't think. I think I just like that I love it for the aircraft. I looked at it from a combat aircraft, not just strictly from I would have to say, if your personal favorite, I think of it a little differently now. Because now that I'm flying, I'm thinking, what aircraft can I carry? Family, bunch of people in. What aircraft can I come to Oshkosh and not to pay these guys all this money to lug stuff around? My dream is to come here in an airplane, unload from the aircraft, set up the booth, everyone's in the plane, pack it up, go home. That's my dream. And that would be, right now, a turbocharged 500 series Aero Commander. All analog, World War II style. And
there's one here and there's one just parked outside, isn't there? I did post on our Facebook page. Scott was drooling over it earlier on in the week.
It's a dream plane because right now in the Comanche it's a four-place airplane. You get in the front and people have to climb over the seat to get in the back, and you got the guy in your co-pilot seat kicking your yoke. You reach for the flaps, you're hitting his leg. It's okay, but you want people out of your cockpit. You're in an environment that is a structured environment. And when things change, it's not desirable. And you also, out of consideration of the people you're carrying, you want them to be very comfortable. You don't want them to, and the Comanches are very comfortable four-place, but they're still kind of stuffed in the back seat. They don't have as much air as I'd like them to have. People always scream and start the engine. I'd like to have people have their own entry, open it, have their own area. They can get up and walk, scuttle about, grab a drink if they want, and not be too cold and me up in the cockpit. So that's a dream airplane. It might be realized someday, but right now, Comanche's the workhorse. The Comanche is an amazing workhorse. It carries a lot of weight. We came over here. Gross weight, right at gross, right to the pound. Yeah. We couldn't fit a baseball in the baggage. We couldn't fit a baseball in there and get the door shut.
It was an interesting cross-country flight across the US.
Yeah, and we had to stuff stuff on ear laps in the back seat. Actually, we're hanging stuff from the ceiling. But the aircraft was a champ.
Yeah, it was a champ.
We even had to limit the water we took on board.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Anyway, that's it. Thanks, sir.
Well, thank you for participating in this interview.
Thanks, Tom.
Cheers.